They told her to leave. They laughed at her clothes. They said she didn't belong at their wedding. What they didn't know was that the land beneath their feet was hers. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She waited, because when the truth finally surfaced, every insult turned into fear. Stay till the end. This quiet woman's identity will change everything. Remove her immediately. The sharp voice cut through the soft music and polite laughter like a blade. Victoria Bradford stood near the center of the grand lawn, her designer heels planted firmly into imported marble tiles. The sunlight caught the diamonds on her wrist as she waved her hand with irritation. I will not have my daughter's wedding ruined by some stranger looking for charity. The guests nearby went silent. At the edge of the gathering stood a woman no one seemed to recognize. Her name was Angela Washington. She did not raise her voice. She did not argue. She simply stood still. "Ma'am," Angela said calmly, "I believe there's been a misunderstanding." Victoria turned slowly, her lips curling into a cold smile. "A misunderstanding," she repeated, stepping closer. Her voice dropped low, cruel. "Listen carefully. This estate is worth tens of millions. These guests come from respected families. You do not belong here." Angela met her gaze without flinching. "I apologize if my presence caused discomfort," she replied softly. That only made Victoria angrier. "The nerve," she snapped, "walking onto private property as if you own it." She snapped her fingers. "Security, escort her out. Now, before she embarrasses herself any further." Two guards approached hesitantly. Angela nodded once. "Of course," she said, "as you wish." Victoria turned away, satisfied. She had no idea she had just humiliated the wrong woman. Angela did not rush toward the exit. Instead, she walked slowly along the garden path. Her steps were confident, familiar. She avoided loose stones without looking down. She turned left before the rose garden sprinklers activated. She passed behind the carriage house, using a narrow shortcut most guests didn't even notice. Several staff members froze. A catering manager stopped mid. The head groundskeeper removed his cap when Angela passed, then quickly looked away. Victoria noticed the strange behavior. "Why is everyone acting so odd today?" she muttered. Angela continued walking. Her fingers brushed against the bark of a massive oak tree. Someone had carved initials there decades ago. She paused, just for a moment. Victoria followed from a distance. Irritation growing. "She's studying the property," Victoria whispered to her friend, "like she's planning to rob us." Angela stopped near a quiet reflecting pool. She stared into the water. The fountain stood exactly where she remembered it. Her grandfather had installed it in 1952. The old brass nameplate was gone now, but she remembered the spot where it once read, "Washington Estate." An elderly valet approached slowly. His hands trembled. "Miss Angela," he whispered, "is that really you?" Victoria spun around. "Miss Angela," she repeated sharply. "Thomas, do you know this woman?" The valet swallowed. "She used to visit here," he said quietly, "a long time ago." Angela turned and smiled gently. "Hello, Thomas," she said. "You've kept the gardens beautiful." Tears filled the old man's eyes. "Your father would be so proud," he whispered. Victoria stepped between them immediately. "That's enough," she snapped. "Get back to work!" She grabbed Thomas by the arm and shoved him away. Angela watched silently. Her face never changed. But the staff noticed. Whispers spread through the house. Housekeepers peeked from windows. The head butler looked pale. No one said anything aloud. "Enough!" Victoria barked. "Everyone back to work." She pointed at Angela. "She's making everyone uncomfortable." Angela resumed walking. She knew which floorboards creaked in the east wing, which bedroom caught the sunrise over the water, which portrait in the library concealed a hidden safe. The staff knew. She knew. When Angela reached the rear entrance of the main house, she paused. The brass door handle still carried a faint monogram. Someone had tried to file it away. She traced the letters with one finger. Across the courtyard, Thomas watched, his face heavy with guilt. Victoria's patience snapped. "This has gone far enough," she shouted, heels striking the stone as she stormed forward. "Security! Remove her now!" The guards approached again, uncomfortable. "Ma'am, we need you to leave." Angela rose gracefully from the bench. Victoria raised her voice deliberately. "I will not have wedding crashers disrupting my family celebration." Nearby guests turned to stare. She wandered in uninvited. Victoria announced loudly, "Claims she belongs here." A sharp laugh escaped her lips, as if we'd associate with someone like that. The words hung in the air. Angela walked toward the gate, escorted by guards. Her posture remained perfect. "Good riddance," someone muttered. "These people have no respect for boundaries," another guest added. Angela paused at the gate. She turned back once. Not angry, not afraid. She simply looked. She memorized faces. Who mocked? Who stayed silent? Who looked away in shame? Victoria noticed. "Why are you staring at my guests?" she demanded. "I'm appreciating the gathering," Angela replied calmly. "Intimidating them, you mean?" Angela said nothing more. The photographer lowered his camera nervously. "Delete any photos with her in them," Victoria snapped. "Yes, ma'am," he replied, though his fingers hesitated. Angela noticed. She always noticed details. Outside the gate, Angela walked to a car parked across the street. She opened the trunk. Inside was a simple leather briefcase. The guard took a step back. "What's in that case?" he asked. Angela smiled faintly. "Documentation." She closed the trunk and walked back toward the gate. Angela returned through the iron gates without hesitation. Victoria saw her immediately. "What now?" she snapped. "She's back." The guards hesitated. "We already escorted her out, ma'am." "Then escort her out again," Victoria hissed. "And this time, make sure she stays gone." But Angela did not approach the center of the celebration. She walked calmly to an empty table near the edge of the reception and sat down. The audacity stunned everyone. "She's actually sitting down," Victoria scoffed. "Unbelievable." Margaret, her closest friend, leaned in. "Should we call the police?" "I'm considering it," Victoria said, pulling out her phone. Angela opened her briefcase. Inside were neatly organized folders. She began reading, focused and unbothered. "What is she doing?" Harrison muttered, squinting. "Those look like legal papers." Victoria's smile faltered for just a moment. "Props," she said quickly, "trying to scare us." A server approached Angela cautiously. "May I get you something to drink, ma'am?" "A glass of water, please," Angela replied softly. Victoria stormed over. "No," she barked. "Do not serve her anything. She is not a guest." The server nodded and retreated. Victoria raised her voice so everyone could hear. "No one speaks to her. No one serves her. Is that clear?" The guests nodded, emboldened. Clusters formed. Whispers turned sharp. "She's probably planning a lawsuit." "These people always are. Security should have handled this better." Angela continued reading. She appeared untouched. Victoria watched carefully. Why wasn't the woman reacting? A group of young socialites approached Angela's table. Laughter, thin and cruel. "Excuse me," one said. "This is a private event." Angela looked up calmly. "Yes, I'm aware." "Then why are you still here?" "I'll leave when it's appropriate." They laughed. "Who do you think you are?" Angela returned to her papers. The insult stung more than any response could have. The group retreated, loudly commenting about class and entitlement. Soon, more guests joined in. A loose circle formed around Angela's table. "Not too close, just close enough to humiliate." "I heard she climbed the fence." "This is what happens when you're too soft." "She's writing things down." "Is she taking notes?" Angela closed her notebook gently. "I'm documenting my observations." "Observations of what?" someone snapped. "Human behavior," Angela replied. "When power believes it's unchallenged." Victoria pushed through the crowd. Are you threatening us? No, Angela said. Just recording. Recording? What exactly? Angela met her eyes. How people treat those they believe are beneath them. The air shifted. Victoria laughed sharply. You're beneath no one because you're nothing, she snapped. Angela stood, slowly, gracefully. I'm here to observe, she said. Nothing more. Then Lee, Victoria demanded. I will, Angela replied. When the moment is right. A new voice cut through the tension. Angela. A man approached from the parking area. He wore a suit, a badge clipped inside his jacket. Detective Ray Coleman. His face went pale. Jesus, he whispered. What are you doing here? Victoria turned. You know her? Ray hesitated. Yes, he said carefully. I do. The crowd leaned in. Well? Victoria demanded. Who is she? Ray swallowed. She's someone you don't want to antagonize. Victoria laughed loudly. Don't be ridiculous. She's trespassing. Ray's eyes flicked to Angela. She gave the slightest shake of her head. Ray, she said warmly. Congratulations on your promotion? Yes, ma'am, he replied automatically. 10. Efrus, the crowd noticed. Why was a decorated detective showing her respect? Ray, Victoria snapped. Arrest her. I can. What do you mean you can? Because, he said slowly, you don't arrest someone on their own property. The words hit like thunder. This is our property, Victoria screamed. Ray didn't argue. He simply pulled out his phone. Let's verify that. Minutes later, the crowd stood frozen. Ray read from the screen. This estate was purchased in 1924 by James Washington. That's ancient history. Victoria scoffed. Ray continued. It passed through inheritance, no sale recorded. He looked up. The current owner is Angela Washington. Silence. That's impossible, someone whispered. Property taxes, Ray added quietly, paid by the Washington Trust. For over 20 years, Victoria staggered. This is a mistake. Angela opened her briefcase. She placed documents on the table. Deeds, records, official seals. Ray examined them carefully. These are legitimate. Victoria's voice broke. This is fraud. Angela met her gaze. No, she said. This is truth. The crowd no longer looked confident. They looked afraid, and the silence was louder than any insult. The lawn had gone completely silent. Moments ago, laughter and champagne filled the air. Now, no one moved. Angela Washington stood beside the table, her documents neatly arranged. She did not raise her voice. She did not look triumphant. She simply waited. Victoria Branford stared at the papers as if they might vanish if she blinked. That can't be right, she said weakly. We've lived here for 20 years. Angela nodded once. Yes, she said calmly. Without permission. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victoria's face twisted with panic. You're saying we're tenants? No, Angela replied. You never had a lease. Ray Coleman cleared his throat. Ma'am, he said gently to Victoria. This property legally belongs to Miss Washington. Victoria turned on the crowd. This is extortion, she declared. An elaborate scam. Several guests nodded eagerly, desperate to believe her. She waited until today to humiliate us. Margaret added. Why not handle this privately? Harrison demanded. Angela listened quietly. Then she spoke. Because I needed to see something, she said. I needed to observe how people behave when they believe they hold power. Her gaze moved slowly across the faces around her. Today answered that question. Thomas, the elderly groundskeeper, stepped forward. His voice shook. Miss Angela, your family built this place. Your grandfather hired my father. We've always known. Victoria spun on him. You're fired, she snapped. Angela's voice cut through the air. "No," she said gently. "He works for me." "Another shockwave. I've been paying his salary for years," Angela continued, "along with the taxes, the maintenance. Everything." Victoria swayed. "This is insane," she whispered. Angela's eyes softened. 20 years ago," she said, "my father received a letter claiming this property was sold. It was false." The crowd leaned closer. "He died believing he failed his family." Angela continued quietly. "He never saw this house again." Victoria laughed harshly. "So now we get a sob story. Something changed." Angela straightened. "I didn't come for revenge," she said. "I came for truth." She opened a final folder. It was black. The seal on the front caught the sunlight. Ray took an instinctive step back. "Oh my God," he whispered. Victoria sneered. "More fake papers?" Angela looked directly at her. "Mrs. Bradford," she said, "you've been insulting a federal judge." The words crashed through the crowd. A glass shattered. "What?" Victoria whispered. Ray removed his hat. "Judge Angela Washington." He said clearly, "United States District Court." The crowd recoiled. "Appointed by the President," Ray continued, "confirmed by the Senate." Victoria's knees buckled. "No, no." At Tut, Moment de Groom approached. "Mom," he said shakily, "we need to talk." Victoria turned. "Michael—" He looked at Angela and froze. "Judge Washington," he whispered. Angela nodded. "Mr. Bradford." Michael faced the crowd. "3 years ago," he said, voice breaking, "I stood in her courtroom. I was facing 25 years in federal prison." Gasps erupted. "She showed mercy," he continued. "She gave me a second chance." He turned to Angela. "You saved my life." Victoria collapsed into a chair. "I've spent the last hour watching my family humiliate the woman who gave me my future," Michael said. "This wedding is happening on her property." Angela took the microphone calmly. "I came to reclaim my family's estate," she said, "but justice isn't about destruction." She turned to Victoria. "You will apologize to your staff. You will fund scholarships in my family's name. You will report your financial violations voluntarily." Victoria nodded through tears. "Yes, yes, Your Honor." Angela looked back at the crowd. "Power does not scream," she said softly. "It listens, it observes, and when necessary, it corrects." She handed the microphone back. Then she closed her briefcase. As she walked toward her car, no one stopped her. No one spoke, because true authority had already spoken.